Hello and welcome to part 5 of the Media Composer Fast Start. So far in this series, we've built and refined our stories and created an audio mix. Now we're going to focus on visual enhancements like color grading, speed effects, and transitions. Let's duplicate our sequence and name it, and double-click to load it. Since we're focusing on video, let's select V1 and deselect our audio tracks. For our first effect, let's change the speed for some of our shots. Many of these shots were recorded at half speed during the shoot and at a different frame rate than our project. So Media Composer applied a motion adapter as indicated by these T icons. If we want to speed up any of these, click the Motion Effect Editor button here in the timeline bar. Then click this Promote button in the Motion Effect Editor, which changes this to a time warp effect we can modify. Then drag this pin keyframe to change the segment's speed. That's working. If we want to change the speed for a segment that matches our project's frame rate, all the teal segments, by the way,
just scrambling out of different positions.
We'll need to apply a time warp effect first. Go to the Effect palette and Time Warp category. If we want to manually set up our speed change, we can apply this time warp effect, or we can experiment with one of these presets. For example, Speed Boost.
Scrambling out of different positions.
Let's move on to color. You may have noticed the color varies throughout the Scramble King sequence. So we'll go to the Effect palette, Image category, and apply this color correction effect to our gym segments. We just need to set this up first. To do that, we'll go to File and Settings. In the User tab, we'll double-click the correction setting. I have Media Composer Ultimate installed, which includes the full Symphony color grading toolset. Your setting may have fewer tabs, but both Standard and Ultimate have this autocorrect tab. For our gym shots, we can choose HSL Auto Contrast and then HSL Auto Balance. HSL often works well on interior shots featuring people. To apply the correction, we'll select the segments by clicking above the video track and dragging across the entire segments to enclose them completely in this bounding box. Then we'll double-click the color correction effect. Not perfect, but much more consistent. Sometimes auto corrections undo a lighting setup from the shoot. Park the position indicator over each one, enable just V1, and click this Remove Effects button to delete the color correction effect. Now, what about the intro segment? This and the other angle were part of a multi-camera shoot, so each angle and camera model captured light differently. To enhance this, we'll use a color matching feature. So let's activate the color workspace here on the right side of the interface. Just a reminder, I have the Symphony toolset. Your interface may default to this HSL group and this curves group, and we're going to use curves to perform our match. Now we just need a reference shot, so we'll park the position indicator on an interview clip, right-click this middle monitor, and choose Reference Current. Then we'll move the position indicator to our intro segment. Let's start the correction by clicking this Auto Contrast button. Then we'll go to this Match Type menu and choose Natural Match. Then we'll click the color swatch on the left and click the skin tone we want to change to sample it. Then we'll click this color swatch on the right to sample the skin tone we want to match. That's pretty good. Let's increase the saturation a bit. Then to check our work, click this Enable button to turn off curves, and then click it again to turn it back on. To check before and after for other segments, just park the position indicator over it and toggle the HSL button off and on. And let's switch to the Effects workspace. Then click the segment we want to add an effect to. Let's zoom into our sequence a bit. Now, this was shot with the camera upside down, so let's reverse that. So we'll add the flip-flop effect from the image category. To add this on top of the color correction effect, we need to hold down Alt or Option and then double-click the effect. To see the result, we'll click the segment again. And you can see the flip-flop was applied on top of the color correction. We're going to create a custom cross-zoom transition between these two shots. Let's zoom into the sequence a bit more. Then we'll start with a dissolve on V1. So we'll click Quick Transition and set a short duration, like 8 frames. Then we'll activate Effect Mode. Select R0135. Go to the Blend category. Hold Alt or Option and double-click the 3D Warp effect so it gets added on top of the color correction. Then we'll select R0133. Go back to the Blend category. Hold Alt or Option and double-click 3D Warp to once again add it on top of the color correction. To create the zoom, we'll select R0135 and scrub here in the Effect Preview monitor to where the audio transition starts and add a keyframe. Then we'll go to the end of this clip and add another keyframe where it will end. Then we'll increase the scale here in the Effect Editor. Now, 3D Warp has lots of parameters. We're just going to use 2. So we'll also adjust defocus to create a blur. Then we'll select R0133 and add a keyframe at the beginning of the segment and another shortly after the dissolve ends. We want to add the zoom to the first keyframe, so we'll click that. And again, increase scale here in the Effect Editor. And then adjust defocus to add the blur. Making sure the first keyframe is selected for defocus as well. Let's preview this.
Learn.
Nice. Thanks so much for joining this session. We're ready to finalize and output our sequences. So I'll see you in part 6.